if you had any idea how tremendously appreciative and enormously awkward I feel, you would all take your signs and go home. I hope that someday all of you get to see your name on a sign with a hashtag on it. It is a very disquieting feeling, I guarantee you. I don't think this is about my job, you know? I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm black. And for a black man, losing a job is like maybe in the top, I don't know, 25 bad things that can happen to you. It's not really even in, you know, just above the middle of the list, maybe. I'm just a guy that showed up for a job that I really loved, and I tried to do my best. I tried to do my best. What's important is your education. What's important is what you can get out of this community of people, resources, and knowledge. Now, speaking of knowledge, I'm going to tell you right off that one of my colleagues, Professor Dennis, he said, you know, you don't really need to talk. And I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to talk. And I had a colleague send me something this morning. Where's Don? I thought I saw Don with the cell phone in the air. What an apropos piece of historical research. This man is an incredible archivist. Because what goes around without being stopped comes around. Do you understand that? You guys were babies when we were burying black men that were shot by the police. This is not a new movement. Don't let them call it a new movement. We shouldn't be restarting anything. We shouldn't be reclaiming the heritage of the struggle in the past. The struggle in the past didn't work. It failed. Cops are still putting bullets in black men. This wonderful shooting gallery called America. Shooting gallery in both senses of the word. Line up to get your daily fix of Uncle Sam's dream. Or periodically fill targets with bullets for the entertainment of spectators and participants alike. You can do a lot with love and courage, and you can do very little at all meaningful without both of those. Let me read something for you, and you tell me if you know where you're standing. Isn't this Mason Day coming up? Is it Mason Day yet? Tomorrow, Mason Day. Well, I'm going to read this, my contribution to Mason Day. Courtesy of Don. Thank you, Don. Welcome, freshmen, to the battle. The battle is for an education, and no matter what you think that should be, it won't be easy. This is your unofficial orientation. What the catalog won't tell you, a short history of a few of the many unhappy battles for freedom at George Mason. This is in the Fenwick digital collection. It is not attributed to an author, but it reads like something that was presented much as I'm presenting it to you today, orally, face to face with eye contact. In the following cases, no distinction is made between dismissal and failure to renew contract. It all amounts to getting fired. Dr. James Shea, a philosophy professor from Cornell University, taught several years at Mason before being dismissed this last year. The official reason was his grading procedures, that is, giving too many A's. Very few of his colleagues on the faculty rallied to his defense. They still believed the way to make students work was to make them buckle down in fear by marking them down, flunking them. No one seriously believes, however, that grading was the real reason for Dr. Shea's dismissal, because ungraded courses are permitted, and he was willing to have his courses so designated. The real reason was easy enough to see. He began to pal around with his students, grew his hair long, and wore blue jeans to class. He stopped lecturing and requiring papers on Plato and Aristotle, and adopted the Socratic method of asking questions. encouraging discussions, and even showing movies in class about the computer society, hunger, and the Vietnam War. He often spoke to large crowds of students in the quadrangle, not even enrolled in his classes, about the morality of war and the importance of free discussion. He became a pacifist and publicly burned his draft card. He was arrested and charged for activities in aiding deserters and draft resistors. He wore no leather. He respected all life. He was a dangerous man. He now heads the Washington Peace Center and teaches at the College of the Potomac and in Maryland. Their gain, our loss. I'm skipping. There's many examples in this document. If you Facebook me, I'll send you the link that Professor Russell sent me, and then we can all share this information. These are not the only cases. You will hear of other cases. There's a man standing right there that I used to work with. When I came into the Performing Arts Building, this guy was produced. His name is Professor Kirby Malone, and he left George Mason 6 years ago. When I came here, I looked around to see who was making stuff happen. I followed him. I looked around to see who was teaching with integrity and who was student-centered in their teaching, and I followed him. I said, I want to do it like that guy does it. Next thing I knew, he was gone. He had lost his job. Hey, I'm doing everything like you, Kirby. There isn't room to detail them all. The ones who went down in vigorous protest. And then it goes on and on and on. I've been really busy doing my job, too busy to worry about keeping my job, saving my job, retaining my job. I want every single one of you to come out next week to Noise Awareness Day, to take a poster with you, and to bring 2, 3, 4, 5, or 60 friends. And let's make some noise. It's a beautiful event. It happens Wednesday, April 29th. We start at 7:30. We don't stop until we run out of noise. I expect this one to be the greatest yet. You know you're in a relationship when you love something and can't explain why. I think you are the greatest bunch of students in the world. I'd rather be here than any place else. I'd rather be here than Harvard, Oxford, Princeton, University of Hawaii at Honolulu, maybe, but pretty much right here in Northern Virginia is where things make sense to me. When I enter a classroom and look out, I don't see a student, I see a human being. I don't see a subset of America, I see the faces of the world, and I love it. I love the internationalism of this campus. I love the languages that you hear in the Johnson Center at lunchtime. I love the creativity of the people that we have brought into the School of Art. And is Michael Verdon here? Yeah. Michael, when you do your thing, all of these people have to be there. Yeah. All right? He made this beautiful structure, a temple. And you know, it's a lot like the human body, Michael. I looked at it today. I had my lunch in front of your temple. And I noticed that it's just unfinished plywood, beautifully, intricately carved, but unfinished plywood. And someone would walk by and say, boy, that's a nice sculpture, but wait until he puts some paint on it. Wait until it's fully decorated. Michael understands that the lesson of this life is that it's not complete until you float it out onto the water and set it ablaze. Set it ablaze, Michael! It's not easy to say goodbye to so many people that have done so much for my personal development. I have to specifically single out Lynn Constantine, Peggy Feerick, Gail Scott White, and Mark Cooley is here someplace with his daughter. Although I don't think his daughter helped much, but she's really cute. Hi. Oh, she's holding the sign, okay. Yeah, get my name, please, out of the damn hashtags. That's really scary. It's a job, you know? It's a job. We're not our jobs. We're our work. You know what I mean? That's the distinction. You know what I'm talking about. And the work, you can't stop my work. You can make me, I might have to do a couple of adjustments, but the work continues. You will not stop my work. And if I've got this many people together, I don't want to talk about my job. I don't want to talk about my health care and the bills that I can or cannot pay. There's a globe of hungry people out there. There's wars raging on every continent. There's wars raging in our street. And I've got an 8-year-old black boy that I've got to raise in a country that thinks he's got a target on his back. So there's way more important things that we can talk about than me. Right here locally, we need to talk about how the food concessions are handled. You said, oh, what is he talking? He's talking about food? He's talking about French fries? You need to look into that. You need to look into the kinds of monopolies that determine what's in your vending machines and what's in your plate over here at JCC. You need to ask yourself how any professor, instructional term, faculty, or otherwise, can do a competent job within the classroom if he or she is on a contract which must be renewed annually and they're being asked to teach 4 courses each semester. If you go into Fenwick, you'll see the sepia tone, big pictures of the way this campus used to look. And there has certainly been a lot of growth and a lot of change. And there are all of these wonderful, well-equipped facilities that are here for you. You paid for them. Your parents paid for them. They're here for you. They're here to create the locus, the site, for a particular kind of experience. And within those facilities, the administration is tasked with hiring knowledgeable, competent people to mediate that experience. Now, I know that these buildings cost a little bit more than what George Mason drops in my checking account every 2 weeks. I know that. And I know that keeping all of these computers and the software that runs on these computers up to date, up to 21st century standards, costs a lot more than it costs to keep me or Kirby Malone on the payroll. I know that. They put a tunnel under Ox Road because there's something really important that we have to get to on the other side of Ox Road. How can you build structures and ignore the people? Yeah, that was funny, thank you. How can you build structures and ignore the people who are the primary ingredient for making those structures useful? Systemic change. Systemic change. I signed, no one had a gun to my head, I signed a contract for a year. I'm not as naive as some of you folks are. Sorry. I've been on a year-to-year contract for a while. Every time I signed, I knew that come October, I'd have to start looking for jobs, and I knew that that would degrade my performance in the classroom. I've been hearing whispers in my ear for years now that the Budget Act is coming, and Thomas, eventually it'll get to you. Okay, it got to me. But that's not really the point. The point is a systemic change that values faculty as labor. They call this a right-to-work state. Virginia, the seat of the Confederacy, I'm not bringing up old grudges, I'm just saying, wants to tell me about a right to work. Yeah, I know about your right to work. What that means, if you don't know, is it means we as faculty are specifically by law prohibited from collective bargaining. All right? And what happens to labor everywhere under capitalism that doesn't organize is you get, I'm sorry, she's 11. You get injured in a very bad way, in a delicate place. The NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, those guys make millions of dollars. They've all got unions. They've all got unions. So we stand up, we say what we have to say, the administration does what it needs to do, and they slough off the difficult components of this thing, and they just keep rolling because we can't organize. This is our organization. A little social media, Harshak and Marissa and the people from SOA that put this together. I hope I get to do a rally for you someday, because this is really, it's amazing, but it's awfully awkward. Keep the focus on the big picture. I'm not the point anymore. The point is what you're saying here, transparency. They're your resources. It's your money, your tuition, your debt, if you're not able to do it out of pocket. And all of these things need to be on your mind simultaneously with the attention that you're putting on your studies here at George Mason. I hope that I get to teach somewhere again. But if I never step foot into a classroom ever again, I will never forget the many lessons that I learned from you here at Mulatto Dix University. Come out to Noise Awareness Day. That's right. We're going to raise a joyful noise and give voice to the voiceless. Right on. I'm going to go home. I've had a very hard day. All right?